very good evening to everybody, and welcome to this next in our Music Revival live stream series. This is Christopher Digan coming to you from our home in KwaZulu-Natal on Saturday the 30th of October, and today is a very special day. It's a very special day in our live stream program, not because of the number of live streams that we're doing, but simply because in fact today, the end of October annually, is the day that we celebrate, or that I celebrate really the forming of Music Revival, a business, a company, a new project that I created 24 years ago. In 1997, in the last week of October, generally every year, we have a celebration concert, and of course that's not possible under current lockdown restrictions, so I thought tonight's concert classics would be the perfect opportunity. This weekend is generally also usually the weekend that I'm presenting the Franschhoek Classic Music Festival, which of course also is not happening. So it's a great loss that these live concerts are not happening. I normally present 100 concerts a year. I have been invited and played 4 concerts in the last 18 months. Live concerts, and this evening's concert then is a celebration and, as I say, an acknowledgement of Music Revival itself. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. If you think this is a celebratory program, why am I playing such a somber introduction? Well, I think it's a moment of calm I'm trying to create for myself. I've got a very challenging program to play for you this evening of some really standard popular classics, Chopin by Liszt, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff and Scarlatti. And I was just warming up a short while ago, and the most dreaded thing happened that any pianist, especially a live stream pianist with a piano at home, can encounter, is that I broke a string. Now, this doesn't mean that the piano is broken. I mean, it would be great if I could replace the piano with a brand new one, but it just means that there is one note, which is that. That's what a proper note sounds like, or that. And that's what the broken string sounds like. Fortunately, that part in the piano does have 2 or 3 strings to each note. So there are still 2 strings, but there's a bit of a complication there, and it's going to sound like a wooden leg whenever I play. And of course, it's a very prominent note that I'm going to be using throughout this evening's stream. So you're going to hear it a lot. It's going to sound very, very strange. Speaking on that, someone asked, I was again going back to the Chopin competition, someone remarked about the Fazioli pianos, which a number of the pianists had used, including in the finals. Fazioli pianos are one of the most recent piano companies, established by Paolo Fazioli in the 1980s in Italy. They are superb pianos. He set out to build the best piano he possibly could. And someone said, well, would I like one? And of course I would like one. I would love one. I would love 2, in fact. I would love to have a Fazioli piano. They are fantastic pianos. They are available in this country. The agency has been awarded to Ian Burgess-Simpson, who I work with very closely, in Cape Town based. And Ian, of course, is the Steinway technician that I work with and that looks after all my pianos locally here on a concert level. But Fazioli pianos are available, and in fact he sold one recently to a very discerning buyer, a concert grand that's a 9-foot Fazioli piano, and of course everyone is asking, well, how much is that going to set you back? Apparently it was a little under 4 million rand. So yes, of course I would love one. I'll certainly, if someone's offering to buy me a Fazioli piano, I would certainly not say that. It'd be lovely to have one right here. So the other thing, just to talk a little bit about Music Revival quickly. Music Revival, when I came back from overseas, I finished studying overseas in 1996, and I was then faced with starting a career as a musician in this country, where I decided to come back to South Africa. And also at this time there was a change in regime, and there was a lot of funding for concerts, arts councils, etc., that had fallen away. And I'm not quite sure, in fact, where the name Music Revival came from. I think it was a friend of mine that had come up with the idea and said, well, why don't you use this as a name? Because what I was really trying to do was to set out to create my own concerts. And as a performing classical pianist, it's quite unusual to promote your own performances and to create your own business, doing the advertising and the hiring venues and taking ticket sales, etc. And so it was quite a new concept, but it really sought to fill in that gap that still saw the enthusiasm and the encouragement and the support and the presence of classical music live performances, where a lot of these ideas were starting to fall away. And that's where the music revival came from. And certainly it's not the be-all, end-all in terms of a name, but however, in the recent years, I have realized that it also means, and I think it also refers to something else, for me at least, in that it tries to revive or tries to come back to the essence of what music really is about. Classical music has often been seen as a very elitist, a kind of exclusive art form that has to be presented in a certain way, in certain venues and under certain conditions. And I was certainly looking at the possibility of trying to reach a broader audience of people who might not feel always that comfortable or that engaged with that experience. And so Music Revival was really trying to really get to the joy and the essence of music without compromising the integrity or the quality of the performance or the nature of the real essence of it, and perhaps presenting the concerts in a slightly different way, talking about the music, presenting them in more comfortable venues like people's homes or on people's gardens, just trying to change some of those ideas around the music and how it's presented, and in that essence give people what they really want, because I think people really do enjoy the music. I think people really enjoy all types of music, and often the idea of classical music without the music itself, it's the ideas around them that people find very intimidating and sometimes off-putting, and it's once you get into it, it's such a fascinating field. So, Music Revival, 24 years this year, and as I say, established in the last week of October 1997. So I'm going to start off with music this evening by Scarlatti and Beethoven, two sonatas. The first, a sonata that I play quite regularly, this celebratory Spanish style, Italian birth by Scarlatti was, but as I say, he spent a lot of time in Spain, and the sunny warmth of Spain and the royal court, a very relaxed, comfortable atmosphere. And the second piece, one of my favorites, very fast, nimble-fingered, with very quick outbursts in G major. And then straight after that, I'm going to go into a very productive and boisterous first movement of the Sonata, Opus 22 by Ludwig van Beethoven. This piece of music really Beethoven thought at the time was his best, most perfect composition that he had created, and it just brings all that wonderful buoyancy, confidence, rhythmic dynamic rhythmic nature, getting tongue twisted here, to the fore in a very optimistic and a very noble, grand, but also with such confidence, is the confidence that comes through in this music of Beethoven. So these are two sonatas by Scarlatti and the first movement of the Sonata, Opus 22 by Beethoven. That first selection of music for this evening's celebration concert, celebrating 24 years of music revival. I started off with Scarlatti sonatas in E major and G major, and then I played the first movement of the sonata, opus 22 by Beethoven. And I couldn't help thinking as I was finishing that, what it must have been like actually for the Viennese public to hear Beethoven play the piano, because it was such a shock, the strength and the confidence and the enthusiasm, not only in terms of his brilliance of his playing and the vigor of his playing, the power which he attacked the piano and approached the piano, but also the way, the incredible emotion which he brought to it in the slow movements and the darkest moments. And of course, someone who's really not going to bring ever a dark moment to our live streams is Little Lucy. And yes, Little Lucy, normally you're not allowed up in the in-concert sessions until the end, but seeing as it's a special occasion, we'll bring you in. And here's Little Lucy. And Little Lucy, how's everything today? Are you feeling better? Because yes, you went 2 days without morning biscuit treats. No treats in the morning because the cupboard was bare. But you're feeling better because they arrived yesterday. Yes, so now all's forgiven. You're happy. You get a treat every day for making an appearance on the live stream. Is that a fair deal? You're not sure. You're looking a bit perplexed. It looks like a little bit of a disappointment, Luce. Okay, we'll speak to your agent. Okay, so moving on. I'm going to move on to music by Liszt and Chopin. I'm starting off with a piece which I very much liked, La Leggierezza, the lightness, a concert etude that Liszt wrote. He was very much inspired, and I think writes this almost as a tribute to Frédéric Chopin himself. It's written in Chopin's favorite key of F minor. It's written in a style that emulates something of Chopin's fluidity, some of the harmonic nuances. And I think in terms of Liszt's music, it really does represent something very delicate and quite brilliant. And part of the nuance and this fluidity and the kind of inner tension of the line, this expressive line, I think is critical in this performance, or in the interpretation of this etude, I think, which is not always in Liszt's typical style. So it's going to be a very challenging piece of music. With this one broken string, you're going to hear it quite regularly. It's like someone walking with a wooden leg. And then straight after that, I am going to play a piece of Chopin, which I think would have been very inspiring for Liszt, and this is the Grande Polonaise, the Andante spianato. And Grande Polonaise, Andante spianato meaning Andante a moderate. Excuse me. No, you can't bark now. Andante spianato meaning at a moderate pace. Spianato being a piece that is level or flat. So it's quite an unusual term. It's the only piece of music I know that has this allocation in it. But it's a sense that Chopin's composing an introduction that is just calm. It just is very fluid and glides along at a very neutral pace. A very beautiful introduction. And then he goes into the Grande Polonaise. It's an early work. It shows off Chopin's brilliant concert style, the fast finger work, Polish dance, Chopin's national heritage, which was a piece of music he would have designed to play with orchestra, which it can be done. It can be played with the orchestra as well as a solo version. And it would have shown off Chopin's compositional abilities as well as his very unique pianistic style. It's a very challenging piece to play. I have played it once before in the last year, and I've been working very hard at it. So it's a wonderful piece when it comes together, and it's just very difficult to do. So this is Liszt's La Leggierezza, followed by the Andante spianato and Grande Polonaise by Frédéric Chopin. yes, that really is a showpiece of note. The Grande Polonaise by Frédéric Chopin with the preceding Andante spianato. And before that, I played Liszt's beautiful La Leggierezza, one of the 3 concert etudes. Someone also not taking things lightly here is, of course, little Frida. Hello, little Frida. Yes, oh, that was such a big noise, I know. And you're sitting right under the piano. I know that, Frida, and it would just be, you would prefer if I toned it down a little bit. Oh no, Frida, it's very loud on your ears. Frida's the one who really doesn't like all those high notes. Frida, how are you feeling about the broken string? Is that worrying? Oh no, you're not worried about that. You got a Lexi, so everything's happy now. Precious little Frida, look at you. Look how sweet you are. There we go. All right, Frida, things are going to calm down a little bit, I think. So, ending off this evening's selection of music in our celebratory Music Revival birthday party program this evening, I am going to play 2 short pieces by Sergei Rachmaninoff, starting off with an Etude-Tableaux in C minor. I always say this really is redolent of a very icy scene, very barren landscape with this very haunting melody, but this repeated undulation of rhythm that sort of bounces across the landscape, almost like, I think people have referred to this as a sled or a sleigh being drawn across the ice. And the second piece, a piece of music of great Russian power and military vitality, you might say, with a very resplendent, a very withdrawn and wonderfully engaging middle section. So this is one of the pieces which I will be looking at probably this coming Wednesday. If you missed last Wednesday, I presented the first part of what I'll be really listening to, where I took apart several compositions and gave you an idea of how the piano creates these sounds. And I didn't quite complete it, and I realized that in fact some of the most fascinating and the best examples are actually the ones I missed out. So this coming Wednesday I am going to be carrying on with that idea and pulling apart pieces like this Rachmaninoff Prelude, Liszt's Campanella, some Ravel, and really show you how these wonderful textures and sounds are created by the piano, what notes are actually being played, what hand is doing what at any one time. So straight after the 2 Rachmaninoffs, I'm going to end this evening's program with a very exciting Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody number 2. Out of all the Hungarian Rhapsodies, this is so well known. It's been used in Tom and Jerry cartoons. It's just such a catchy tune. It's a little melody that everyone knows. The first part is very slow and expressive, but slowly the actual dances, the energy gathers, takes place and builds up into this enormous, vibrant ending. But just before the end, Liszt says the music comes to a halt, and Liszt says the piano can have a cadenza. And of course, this really means that the pianist is able to have a moment of free fancy and a flight of improvisation, which I am going to do. So it's that last little bit of the piece. If it doesn't sound, just before the final moments, doesn't sound quite like you're recording at home, it's because I'm just making up or have made up my own version around it. So 2 Rachmaninoff pieces, an etude and a prelude, followed by Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody number 2. Yes, Freddie, I see you. Lucy sleeps through all of that. Well, that brings us to the end of this evening's concert. That was a rather exuberant, rather free Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 by Franz Liszt, and before that 2 pieces by Rachmaninoff, an etude and a prelude from his incredibly great repertoire. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the music. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting me, particularly in the last 18 months during lockdown, but also to the many, many people who have supported and been part of Music Revival right since its inception 24 years ago, in particular to Gilly Walters, who I'm sure is watching this evening, to whom I owe so much. Gilly, thank you for everything that you have done for me, and for the Walters family, David and Michelle as well. Franschhoek, who helped me establish the Franschhoek Classic Music Festival. There have been so many people that I'd like to thank, and I can't in this space, but certainly I all know who you all are. People who have supported me for many, many years, have come to many, many of my concerts. 24 years is a long time. And it's a long time to keep playing and a long time to keep promoting concerts. But I'm still here and we're still at it. And of course, who else is here? Right, here we're going to have turns. Everyone's going to have, yes, Wendy Pop. Yes, Wendy Pop, you're missing not having concerts at home. Because when everyone came to the concerts at home, you would get lots of attention. And everyone would say, what a sweet girl little Wendy Pop is, when you weren't barking at them, because you always like to bark at people. Yes, you're also very happy that everyone's been supporting us. And let's see, here's Frida Pop again. Yes, Frida's also looking forward to seeing everyone again. Yes, we want live concerts so that we can have visits, and then at the dinners, when people are eating dinner, they can give us treats when you're not looking. Yes, I heard about that, Frida. And then come on, little Lucy, because everyone loves Lucy. Come on, Lucy. Come on, Lucy, Little Lucy. Yes, little Lucy. There we go. Lucy, which was your favorite in the program? Which one did you like most? Oh, all of them. It was just all lovely, splendid, smashing music this evening. Thanks, Luce. I'm pleased we get the seal of approval from little Lucy. And we look forward, yes, you're looking forward to Wednesday's program too. Thank you very much. And yes, thank you again. You're saying thank you for the treats. Yes, I did go and buy them. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Phew, that was quite a program, please. Yes, it was. So thank you, everyone, for joining me. Thanks, Barry, for the technical support of the cameras again. We carry on another year of Music Revival, another week and another future ahead with our live streams. Looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday for our next session. Look after yourselves, stay well, keep well, and we look forward to seeing you then.